we're on a journey. We're on a journey as an organization, and we haven't got all the answers. But as Liam said, we've taken a big bet. And I suppose it's a leap of faith, a little bit like Steve Jobs didn't ask any consumer out there as to whether they wanted an iPad. He took a leap of faith, and now we're all got iPads or mini iPads or whatever the case might be. I think the second thing that I want to say is that Unilever is not going to save the world on its own. The only way we're going to make a contribution in the world is for a completely different mindset around collaboration. Collaborating with governments, collaborating with civil society, and collaborating with our competitors and other big organizations. Collaborating with social entrepreneurs. Somebody said to me the other day, I was up in Oxford, it's not going to be the big organizations that are going to solve the world's problems. It'll be the entrepreneurs that'll solve the world's problems, and then we'll be able to scale those and make it real for everybody. I put up a slide here just to tell you a little bit about Unilever as an organization, and this is not to boast about who Unilever is, but this is more to tell you about the scale of the organization and the challenge that we've got and what we're trying to do. So 2 billion consumers use our products every single day, whether that's washing their hair, washing their clothes, having a cup of tea, brushing their teeth, washing their hands, putting on some deodorant. We can make an impact. We can make an impact if 2 billion consumers a day are using our products. Secondly, we have about 400 brands, but 15 of those are over $1 billion in size. We're about 51 billion euro in terms of turnover. 57% of our sales comes from countries south and east of the United Kingdom. So that is Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And by 2020, that number will be 70% will come from those countries, and only 30% will come from Europe and North America. And we employ about 171,000 people throughout the world. Those are some of the products that we manufacture and some of the brands which hopefully you recognize some of those. So what are some of the real challenges I think that we are facing? I mean, if we just go back one slide, please. I mean, I think one of the things that we're seeing is that by 2050, 9 billion people will live on the planet. And by 2020, we'll have an extra billion. I think what we're also going to see by 2020 is that at least 2 billion consumers will become first-time consumers. Fantastic. And then finally, I think the number is by 2030, 3 billion more people will enter the middle class. At a time when commodity prices will continue to rise, food and our ability to grow food will become more difficult, energy will be in shorter supply, and we will compete for those resources. The world also, I think, and the reason I've used the word environmental and social challenges that we face is I think we face what I call systems challenges in the world today. It's not just an environmental or climate change. It's not just social challenges. We face real system challenges, and the system will grind to a halt at some point. It will grind to a halt. And we see some of that already. So whether it's the droughts that we're aware of, I've just got back from Australia last week, and it's been the hottest summer on record in Australia, or we see the floods and the typhoons that are ravaging the world today, and we only have to live in the UK over the last couple of months to get a sense of what that might be like. We also have huge social challenges out there. We have huge social challenges. On the one hand, we've got 1 billion people who are obese. And we have 1 billion people who are undernourished. And by the way, we're in the foods business. So that's either a challenge or a huge opportunity. 162 million children are stunted by the age of 5 as a result of malnutrition. And we're in the foods business. So we face these challenges, both at a social level, at an environmental level, and at the end of the day, I think at a systems level. So what has been our response? If that's the context, what has been our response as an organization? The first thing is that we have been, I think, hugely ambitious. And maybe somebody will say to us one day, too ambitious. Secondly, what we've tried to do is to put purpose right at the center of our business. Our purpose has now evolved to making sustainable living commonplace in people's homes. How can we ensure that 9 billion people do live on the planet in 2050, but in a sustainable way? I can't tell those 2 billion first-time consumers, sorry, you've got to stop consuming. But what I can try and do is ensure that they have products, brands, services that either have a positive social impact or a positive environmental impact. So we want to become a company that doesn't market to consumers anymore. What we need to do is we need to matter to people. And so what are we trying to do? What makes this ambitious? We want to double the size of our business. We want to be an 80 billion business by 2020. But we want to do that, and we want to achieve that by doing two things: to radically reduce our environmental footprint and to enhance our social impact. And it's only through reducing our environmental impact and enhancing our social impact, and therefore making sustainable living commonplace, that we will grow and be profitable and deliver the 80 billion. It's only because of that. This is not about philanthropy. This is not about philanthropy. One of the first things that Paul Polman did when he joined us, he said to Keith Weed and myself, close down corporate social responsibility, please. I don't want it. I want this purpose to live in our brands. I want it to be central to what we're doing in the organization. Of course, you can get leaders engaged, but unless you change the infrastructure, the policies, the processes, leaders then go off on wonderful retreats, and then they come back and they get forced to behave in a certain way because the policies and the processes tell them to do that. And so we've had to radically transform those policies and processes, every one of them, to look at it through the lens of our purpose called making sustainable living commonplace. Turnover has gone from 40 billion to 51 billion. The share price when Polman arrived was 13. He then told the city that he was no longer going to give guidance, and it dropped to 11. It's now 24. We've reached over 225 million people with this agenda on health and hygiene. 18% of our food meets the highest nutritional standards in the world today. Our biggest challenges in delivering on this is greenhouse gas and water. Greenhouse gas and water. And reducing that impact that we have with our brands and our products on those two areas of the environment. Our staff engagement has gone from 60% to 78%. Why would you invest in a company which is out of sync with the needs of society, that doesn't take its social compliance and its supply chain into account, that it does not think about the cost of externalities or the negative impacts that it has on society? And so I wanted to just end with the following. And it's a quote that has become very real to me over the last 3 or 4 years. And it's a saying which says, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And I think it was Winston Churchill who said, you can earn a living by getting, but you earn a life by giving.